Racing driver in the history of this sport has ever come close to.
Of the great American race, the new king of NASCAR, Bill Elliott.
Who do you think is the most underrated driver in the history of NASCAR? For me, that guy is undoubtedly Bill Elliott. Let's see, the fastest racer in history, one of NASCAR's most popular drivers,
Win and open the door for Bill Elliott to grab the lead.
the very first guy to win the Winston Million. Plus, he embodies the very values of this great country sport. Seriously, what's not to like? But believe it or not, Bill's life hasn't been as much of a pleasure cruise as you may think. And there have been many times in his career when he came this close to losing it, whether it is a race or his life. So, in today's video, we are looking at the darker side of Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. Specifically, we are looking at spectacular airplane wrecks, speed records, some horrific accidents, and what this spectacular Southern speedster is up to today. But before we take off, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Are you ready? Yeah! Well, put the pedal to the metal as we go find out. What happened? How was Bill involved in a plane accident? You'd assume that being a NASCAR driver would give you sufficient thrills for one lifetime, but not for Wild Bill Elliott, no. You see, Bill has been an amateur pilot for decades. This fact, along with the fact that Bill is a big supporter of our armed forces, helped bring about the situation where Bill was involved in a horrific air accident. It was 1987, a huge year for Bill Elliott. It was the year he set the NASCAR speed record, as well as the year he won the Daytona 500 for the second time. He must have been feeling the love because he decided to give his time to the Air Force Reserve in his hometown of Georgia. So he headed over to shoot a promo for the organization. But after filming concluded, Bill was given an exhilarating opportunity. He got to ride in an F-16 while simulating combat maneuvers. So of course, Wild Bill said yes. Everything went smoothly for a time. Bill got in the plane, the pilot did some breathtaking maneuvers with other planes, and Bill got to experience the kind of thrill he'd never had in a race car. Then the pilot upped the stakes and climbed to 14,000 feet, now performing high altitude maneuvers. But what followed is about the most horrifying thing I can imagine. Something went horribly wrong. Maybe it was a miscommunication between the pilots. Maybe it was a physical slip. Either way, Bill's plane and another plane collided midair. The right wing of Bill's plane ripped through the belly of the other one, engulfing the other plane in fire and causing its pilot to eject. Bill's plane was just a little better off. Its wing and fuel tank were damaged. But somehow, the pilot made a miracle maneuver and landed the plane safely. The other plane brutally crashed into a forest. Somehow, Bill got out of the plane unscathed.
No one was injured in the incident. Bill and the F-16 pilot landed safely, but
It was a terrifying incident, but he reasoned that at least he could have ejected had things gone worse. Well, no, not so fast. He was informed afterwards that his ejection seat had not been charged. Had the pilot not made that maneuver successfully, Bill would have surely been killed in a horrific crash. Is Bill Elliott the fastest man in NASCAR history? Here's the thing about NASCAR. Sometimes I get so caught up in the rules, regulations, and records that I forget what the sport is really about. I'll be spending all day researching who won which cup when somebody like Bill Elliott reminds me that racing is more about the pure thrill of speed, risk, and danger. Because at the end of the day, you're just driving a car really, really fast. So with that in mind, who is the fastest man in NASCAR history? You may have heard rumors that Bill has claimed that prized record, but is that really true? Or is there an unfortunate asterisk next to his name? From 1985 on, $1 Million Bill was the king of Talladega.
Elliott wins the 1985 Daytona 500.
At least in the qualifiers. This was in large part due to the neck-breaking speeds he did achieve. In fact, by the time the fateful day rolled around in 1987, Bill had already surpassed 200 miles per hour twice. But neither Bill or his team were sure whether he could push that number even higher. Some believed it was unsafe to reach those heights if the machinery could even handle it. But Bill was never the kind of guy to sit around and worry about what was possible. So, in 1987, Bill set out to achieve the impossible at Talladega. He certainly had the best machinery you could ever want. His car weighed 3,700 pounds and churned out 625 horsepower. And during that race, he achieved it. He achieved pole position early on with a speed of 212.809 miles per hour. In the blink of an eye, Bill Elliott became NASCAR's fastest driver of all time. But not so fast.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
There are two crucial pieces of information that poke holes in Bill's record. So, is Bill's time really the fastest ever? Also in 1987, another unforgettable event in NASCAR history. But this time it wasn't exactly an occasion for celebration. So that 1987 race when Bill set his record, well, he didn't actually win that race. The victor there would be Bobby Allison, an acerbic accelerator from Alabama. After winning the qualifying race, Bobby was incredibly fired up during the race itself. He had just seen someone else record the fastest time ever. Why couldn't he go that fast? So try he did, until tragedy struck. Bobby's car spun out and flew into the bleachers, tearing out a football field's worth of fencing and severely injuring several spectators. The cost of insane speeds were demonstrated clearly, and NASCAR knew they had to do something about their cars. So, over the next 2 years, they mandated smaller carburetors and then restrictor plates for cars. Today, while the technological capability for speed has increased, NASCAR has gone the opposite, introducing more and more safety and speed restricting components like roof flaps. So while Bill still has the fastest time on paper, today's cars aren't capable of hitting those spots. Still, I wouldn't go so far as to say there should be an asterisk next to his record. Somebody had to hit that speed while the window of limited safety precautions was still open. And it turns out Bill Elliott was just the man with the guts to do that.
Ford Thunderbird Bill Elliott in excess of the track record, 212.809.
What is Bill doing today? In most professional sports, even the most durable athletes clock it in around 20 years. And that's the cream of the crop too. Many only make it a few years or a few days. But NASCAR is a bit different. By favoring guts and skill over sheer physical ability, drivers can continue competing for decades upon decades.
Chase Elliott, a huge move to the inside. Elliott's going to try Logano. Takes Gordon with him. Logano goes to the lead.
With that being said, what is Bill Elliott up to today? Is he still racing? Or with his son competently carrying on his legacy, has Bill hung up his keys? Well, in 2021, Bill shocked his fans by, at the age of 66, competing in an entire season of superstar racing experience. So, how did he perform? Alongside much younger drivers, one of which was his own son. Was Bill Elliott just going through the motions? Nope, not at all. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville performed very well through the entire season. During one race in particular in Nashville,
Gonna get that lap, but Bill's not giving up yet. It's the first lap he hasn't led yet tonight.
Bill excelled, winning his first heat race and finishing third in the main event. Even better,
Bill Elliott, the last time he went to victory lane was in November 2003 at Rockingham.
guess who the victor of that race was? Yep, that's right, Bill's son Chase Elliott. I cannot think of a better ending for father and son. But was Bill content with just 1 year back performing? Absolutely not. In 2022, he competed in 2 different races in the Superstar Racing Experience. And honestly, I am really hoping to see him back in 2023. What do Bill and his family think about the future of NASCAR? Bill Elliott has watched the great sport of NASCAR change quite a bit over the years.
In today's competition, about what it takes to win here.
Track position is everything. It seems to be key in this particular car, but we'll see.
From the neutering of the equipment that allowed him to set the speed record to massive cultural shifts. For better or worse, it is just not the same as it used to be. So what does Bill, the man who has been at the center of it all, think about the changes. While Bill hasn't been quick to criticize NASCAR openly, we can get a hint of his feelings from his son. Bill and Chase both still live in Dawsonville, Georgia, and Chase, of course, learned everything he knows from his dad. And it turns out the Elliotts do have some pretty strong feelings. Feelings about one very specific thing in particular. In an interview, Chase shared a little of what his family feels about NASCAR today. He said that today's NASCAR is too tied to the current next-gen car and too unwilling to adapt and make changes.
We are in. When you come out with a new product, you should take steps forward, not stay the same or go backwards, and especially in the safety category.
We can just assume that he shares his opinion with his dad, who firsthand watched as NASCAR made drastic changes to cars, forced its drivers to adapt or perish. Terribly, sometimes literally. So what do you think? Do you think Bill shares his feelings with his son Chase? What are your feelings on the shifts in NASCAR? Get in the comments and tell me your thoughts. At the end of the day, NASCAR has always been about one thing: the ultimate battle between man's desire to create and achieve, and his desire for control and conscience. This explains many of the contradictions within the sport. For example, the contrast between the high-powered monsters, like the one Bill set his record in, and the safer, slower cars of today. Or take the contrast between fiery, aggressive racers like Dale Earnhardt on one hand, and then racers like Bill Elliott, who prioritized friendliness, inclusiveness, and amiability instead, while still maintaining a ferocious competitive spirit. I think that's what made Bill and his career so special, his ability to ride the line between these two extremes. And that's something I do believe he's passed down to his son. So if Bill Elliott is in fact retired, at least we have Chase to watch. Alright, enough of me, now it's your turn. Get in the comments and tell me your thoughts on Bill and Chase Elliott, on NASCAR back in the 80s and 90s versus today. And while you're at it, tell me your all-time favorite NASCAR driver. If you enjoyed our race, please give this video a thumbs up, it really helps. Subscribe to our channel and come back often so we can keep telling you.
Thank you guys. Thanks NASCAR. Thanks the Hall of Fame. It's been a great ride and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you guys.
What happened?